What's up, nerds? Welcome back. If you watched my review video for Avengers number 50, then you know that we got the regular looking She-Hulk back, and she now has her new ongoing series, so I decided why not go ahead and talk about what we have with She-Hulk number 1. So I have to say, I feel a little bit like your boy Zach right now because this is like, I don't know, the third or fourth, maybe it's even the fifth time that I've tried to record this video just because of a range of different things. So let's just kind of try and get through this together if we can, right? No more screw-ups. And even if they are, they're staying in the damn video. So let's get through this. Anyway, so we're starting out here. Jennifer Walters is walking down the sidewalk, and she's just kind of thinking about, some of the events that have gotten her. Well, not really so much the events that have gotten her here, but there are certain little callbacks to what's been going on with her recently, where she talks about how because she's saying that she hates having to start over, but that she has, she was hoping she would have something other than a stack of expired Avengers ID cards and a ring of keys that don't go to anything, and that she thinks at least two of them are for Fantastic cars. Anyway, so she says, I always thought I'd make partner by now, or maybe that I'd have a practice of my own. I at least thought I'd have my own apartment. And then all of a sudden she runs into Titania, who's there wanting her to, fight and shit. She's like, really, Mary? Do we have to do this right now? So she's telling her, I heard you got cut down to size, and Jennifer's like, well, only relatively speaking. So Titania tells her, thought I'd take the new you for a spin. She's like, well, I thought we were past this, Mary. I thought you turned yourself around. To which Titania's like, yeah, but then the world turned me back around. So she goes over and rips out a damn stop sign. She's like, all right, yeah, let's go ahead and let's do this. So she's asking her, why is it, Walters, that every time you always seem to relatively land on your feet while I always land on my face? So this part I kind of liked, where she's staring at her and then she kicks off her shoes and we see where she's shorter. I just thought that was actually kind of funny. Anyway, she tells her, maybe it's because you keep picking fights with Hulks. So she's like, yeah, maybe. And then she goes to swing the stop sign at her. To which she basically just kind of avoids it and everything and then tells her, I guess we're doing this. So Titania's telling her, yeah, come on, let it rip. So she's like, all right, yeah, just a sec. She's like, I'll beat you down as you are if I have to. I won't enjoy it as much, but I'll still enjoy it. So she goes to try and hit her again, but Jennifer opens the taxi cab door and hits her in the stomach with it and shit. So that kind of takes the wind out of her for a second. And then she looks at her, she's like, what the hell are you doing? Because as you can notice right here, she's starting to take down her skirt and shit. So she's telling her, I'm not going to fight you in my only suit. So she's taking it off, and Titania asks her, so what? You're going to fight me in your underwear? And she's like, well, I fought you in less. So she tosses it away. As we can see, she's turning green. And then, yes, we get the full-on look at She-Hulk, because she is back. So, I mean, I'm happy to see it. And I know I'm not the only one. Hell, even Titania is like, that's what I'm talking about. So she starts fighting with her again, and then She-Hulk is still trying to tell her, we don't have to do this. And she's like, yeah, we do. So she, throws the stop sign away, and she's like, you're not going to beat me. And then Titania tells her, well, I have before. And then she tells her, yeah, and then you went to jail. So they continue the fight as they're having their little back and forth. She throws her into an alley and shit. And then Titania's there. She's like, yeah, but it felt pretty good in the moment. It always feels pretty good, Walters. Mixing it up with you is the only time I get to cut loose because, yeah, I mean, she's a Hulk, so she can take a lot of punishment. Anyway, so Jennifer goes and puts her in this sort of headlock, and then she just, for whatever reason, this is one of those parts where I was like, okay, this is kind of weird, the dialogue, where she asks her, do you have a house? And then she asks her also, do you have an apartment? And she's like, we have a house. Or she asked her if she was still married. And then she asked, do you have an apartment? To which Titania's like, we have a house. And she says, a house? Really? That's nice. But she tries to tell her it's a rental. She's like, well, still. And then Titania elbows her in the damn stomach and shit, to which she says, what is wrong with you, Walters? She's like, well, I just think that, if I had all of that, I wouldn't be doing anything to spoil it. And they continue the fight scene. I'm kind of glad that they did it. The dialogue here, like I said, is kind of clunky, but at least they kept the action going with the fight scene with all of this going on. So I wasn't that upset about it. And she's saying, Titania says, this is really confusing. I feel like you're doing your usual patronizing BS, but I also really feel sorry for you all of a sudden. To which She-Hulk is like, are we done here, Mary? Did you get your endorphin hit? And she's like, you know the rules. We're not done until one of us can't get up. And she's like, okay, well, maybe we could change the rules. To which Titania's just like, what do you mean? She says, like, well, what if we didn't have to fight until you're incapacitated so that you didn't have to go to jail? To which Titania's like, well, sometimes I incapacitate you. And then she says, but what if you didn't? And she says, the truth is, I like fighting you too. As she's doing like this whole like nervous scratching the back of her head thing. And Titania's just like, you do? She's like, yeah, so there aren't many people I can hit with a telephone pole without feeling guilty about it, which does sound about right. Yeah, because Titania can also take some hits. So she's like, oh, so your suggestion says, yeah, let's just fight. I'll meet you in a vacant lot or something. We can blow off some steam. And she's like, you would do that for me? She's like, of course. Like, it helps me too. And then Titania says, this isn't a trick. You're not just going to show up with the cops, are you? And she's like, no, as long as you're not wanted by the law. She's like, as far as you know. She's like, yeah, as far as I know. So Titania's like, all right, yeah, let's try it. Fight Club, you and me. Give me your card. And she's like, well, I don't really have a card right now. And she's like, are you all right, Walters? Was that really your only suit? And she's like, I'm fine. And then she's like, because I could. She starts reaching to her pocket, like, to give her money and shit. I was like, damn. And then She-Hulk's like, really, I've got it. And she's like, I could lend you a few. And she's like, nah, I got it under control. So she says, all right, well, guess I'll see you around. And then Jennifer's like, yeah, I still have your number. So she goes to go and pick up her skirt and shit. And then all the people, of course, are looking at her weird because she's a giant green lady. Anyway, she goes over and she grabs a stop sign, tries to put it back in. Well, I mean, at least it's there, right? So she goes to work, and of course she's running late now. But she walks in, and what's her name? Mallory is standing there. She's like, "You're late." And she's like, "I know, I'm sorry." And she's like, "Is this the one I'm getting?" She's like, "What do you mean?" She says, "The mousy one," because I guess she expected her to show up as She-Hulk. But anyway, she says, "Well, it depends on my mood." And she's like, fine. Come on, I'll show you your office." So she takes her to the broom closet that's going to serve as her damn office. And then she's just kind of like giving her the lay of the land, saying, "I wasn't planning on bringing on another attorney." And she's like, "I know, I appreciate it." And she's like, "No, don't." She's like, "Don't appreciate it. I'm not doing you any favors, Walters." Basically, she was only doing this so she wouldn't have to face her in court, which I guess is pretty sound strategy if there's someone that you don't want to face off against in court. Anyway, she says, and this isn't like one of those cushy law jobs you've had before. There are no staff perks here, no expense accounts. I don't bring in bagels for meetings. So she's like, all right, yeah, BYOB, I got it. And then she tells her, yeah, and I have one personal assistant who we will be sharing. And then she's like, Jennifer's trying to tell her, oh, okay, that's no problem. Like, I don't even have any clients. She's like, yeah, make sure you get on that. So she says, seriously, Mal, thank you for doing this. She's like, remember our agreement? And right when she starts telling her, like, what the agreement was, she's like, that's right. And let's also add never thank me again to the list. Can we do that? And she's like, yeah, you're the boss. She's like, that I like to hear. So she's leaving from there because she also has another meeting to get to. So we see where she's stuck in traffic and all of that. She's texting saying, like, I'm sorry, I know I'm running late. She sprints out of the cab straight up to Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, who was waiting for her. So they hug and everything, and then she's saying, like, look at you, what a sight for sore eyes. Why aren't you green? You're not stuck this way, are you? And she's like, well, no. And she's like, well, then where are your bags? Are they coming over later? We can send for them. She's like, starting to tell her, like, well, I don't actually have any. And then she says, come on, let's get you up. So she takes her up to this apartment that apparently Janet owns. And she's saying, like, yeah, honestly, I forgot that I even own this place or whatever the hell. Like, maybe I should actually, sell it off after you get your place, of course. Like, are you that type of attorney? Could you help me with that? And she's like, well, I promise it's not going to take me long to find a place. She's like, oh, pish posh. Just take as much time as you need. Anyway, she says, Jen, I can't help but notice you're living pretty lean. Like, can I help you out? Do you need a loan? She's like, I'm fine, Jan. It's just been a while since I needed something other than a unitard. And She-Hulk can't exactly shop at Old Navy. She's like, oh, okay, I get it. You don't want to get popped. You don't want, you're trying to keep a low profile. And she's like, no, Jan, they don't carry my size. So I guess that's fair. Like, there are stores that cater to, like, bigger women, but I don't know that there are any that really cater to women as big as her. So she probably has to have clothes custom made. Anyway, so Jan is like, oh, well, all right. Who wants to wear fast fashion anyway? I'm sure I could help you find something fab. We could go shopping together, like in the good old days. But I think you still have clothes here, Jen. I never moved your things. And then she's telling her, like, okay, you know what? I gotta go. I have other things I gotta go do. And then she tells her, like, if you need any money, there's mad money in the cookie jar, and there are cookies in the cupboard, which I'm like, When I read it, I was like, why wouldn't you keep the cookies in the? Well, I guess that's where you keep the mad money. I don't know. I've never had that much money where I could just throw it in a cookie jar in case I ever just, need a little bit of spending cash. I've never had that problem before, so I wouldn't really know. I guess that's why she keeps the cookies in the cupboard and money in the cookie jar instead of some sort of safe or something. I don't know. Anyway, so she says, and if you need anything, you'll call. So she like leaves the apartment and everything, and then Jen goes straight over to the couch and she's like, "Hello, lover." So she goes to the bedroom because if you remember, Jan said everything should still be the same. So she goes up to the closet and she's like, please, please, please let the clothes still be there. She opens it and yeah, all of her clothes and shit still there. So of course she's happy about that. She celebrates by trying on some of her clothes, throws herself on the bed and everything, and then she goes to the part where she's been missing the most apparently, which is the shower, the bathtub really, which is fair, I guess. Anyway, she's sitting there and she's thinking to herself. She says, maybe Jan is right. It's all going to be fine. I've got everything I need in this moment. And Mary was right too. I do keep getting chances to reinvent myself. I don't want to waste this one. I don't need to have it all, but I want to have more. I want to take up more space in my own life. And then all of a sudden she hears a loud crash. So she's like, what the hell? She comes running out and sees this guy, Jonathan Hart, also known as Jack of Hearts, who's supposed to be dead. And he just kind of like says her name and then he just kind of like collapses to the floor. So she runs up to him. And that's where we leave off on this particular issue. And we'll see what ends up happening as this continues to develop, I guess. But overall, pretty solid first issue, I guess. I didn't really know what to expect coming into it. Like I said, the only thing I really did expect was that, yeah, She-Hulk is back to looking normal because they finally heard everybody saying this is not a good look for her to look like the size of several buses stacked on top of each other. So finally Marvel was like, all right, yeah, let's go ahead and take her back. So now we have her back to normal. The art in this issue could have been, yeah, a little bit better. I mean, I found it serviceable, but I get the feeling there were probably going to be some people who look at it and are like, it's all right, but it's not the best. You know what I mean? And I could definitely agree with that. There could have been more to it. I don't know if it would be just on the line art, on the inking, on the coloring, like somewhere in there, it felt like there could have been more. But maybe that's just my estimation. Like I said, I found it serviceable. It didn't hurt the story in any way, really. And she did look, like She-Hulk, so I wasn't that upset about it. But overall, like I said, it's a first issue, so there's not a whole lot for me to judge it off of as far as like where this is going to go and how it's going to turn out. There's a lot of room for it to continue to keep getting better. There's also a lot of room for it to just completely go immediately off the cliff. So I can't really say one way or the other just yet. I'll probably keep picking it up for a while, which is, I mean, that's a lot for me to say because I'm not into Hulks at all. Whether it's normal or She-Hulk, I'm not really into it most of the time. I'm usually more so, I usually try and avoid that stuff. But with this one, I was like, you know what? I'll go ahead and check it out. And now that I've read it, I was like, you know what? I'll probably keep checking it out, at least for a minute. She-Hulk has a little bit more of a chance of sticking around with me just because, I mean, she is an attorney, and I spent a long time of my life studying to be an attorney, and then I even worked at a law firm. So stuff like that can keep my attention. I don't really mind, like, that whole aspect of her life or whatever. It actually does keep me interested. So I'll see what happens with this, and maybe I'll make more videos regarding like this series, and we'll see how it actually turns out. But I don't know if anybody out there has read this, if you heard that she's back. Like I said, I did do that review video for Avengers 50 where she officially like came back to normal. So, I mean, some of y'all who watch my videos at least should probably already know that she was coming back or whatever. But yeah, if you read this, if you heard about this, if you have any thoughts on it, about it at all, do feel free to share them with me down below in the comment section. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like, make sure you're subscribed, you have the notification bell hit, all of the regular legal disclaimers. And if you're done here, then go and read a book, possibly this one if it's your type of thing. And if not, then I'll see you on my next video.